have it. I hope that's okay with everyone. So, welcome everyone to the reading of my cookbook, Work in Progress. It is called Green Kids Cooking Club, How to Create Joy and Magic in the Kitchen by Neelam Patil, or also known as Chef Neelam. And the purpose of today's reading is to create some momentum behind this cookbook, which has been kind of an assembly of the recipes that I've been making, the dishes that I've been making with kids over the last 5 years, and create an experience that any kid can have. They don't have to be in Berkeley or interact with me. So I will share the dedication page. So this is a cookbook that's dedicated to my mother. Her name is Bharati Magdam Patil, and it says, "This is a culinary love letter to you, mommy. Love, Neelam." It's also dedicated to Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, my spiritual teacher. And finally, to all of my students, this is for you with love, Chef Neelam. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading. So you can just listen. I hope that's okay. And then I'm going to read an introduction on I'm just going to read the introduction and sort of my story on how I became a chef. And it's going to be told in the form of stories. There's 3 little stories. And then I will share some recipes and some photographs of some of the food that we have created over the years. And these are sort of, they've become standard, like old standards, or just tried and true recipes. Okay, we have lots of people still arriving. So, all right, let's get started. So, how to become a magician in the kitchen. This is my story, Chef Neelam's story, and told in 3 parts. So the first part is how to climb a mountain. My mom taught me how to climb down steep hills. When she was a girl, she went trekking through the Himalayas, and she learned there. You have to zigzag down the trail. First, walk a few steps in one direction and then switch directions. Always placing your feet at a sideways angle towards the mountain, not walking directly down, one foot in front of the other like we would walk on a sidewalk. I'm a little bit squeamish when it comes to heights, and climbing down steep hills scares me. So I'm grateful I had my mom to show me how. She used to take us hiking all the time when we were little. I never wanted to go, but she forced us. Now I'm glad she did, because I remember those times fondly, and she instilled in me a love for nature. So I'm gonna ask if somebody is here. Maybe, I don't know if Tony, are you gonna be here the whole time? Would you mind taking on being a co-host and letting people in from the waiting room?
Yes, hold on. I don't know how to do that. Yes, I can take over.
Okay.
Do you want to add me as a co-host?
Yeah,
I
I
don't know how.
just added you,
Okay,
and thank you.
you're
And
welcome.
all right, it'll be a blue button and it'll pop up. Okay, great.
Okay.
Now I can focus on reading. All right, so I'll just go back to the last paragraph. I'm a little bit squeamish when it comes to heights, and climbing down steep hills scares me. So I'm grateful I had my mom to show me how. She used to take us hiking all the time when we were little. I never wanted to go, but she forced us. And now I'm glad she did, because I remember those times fondly, and she instilled in me a love for nature. She used to tell us lots of stories of her days trekking through the Himalayas. She would tell me that this experience changed her whole perspective on life. Before going, I was very materialistic, she said. For example, I was very particular about everything matching. My dupatta, or scarf, had to be the exact same color as my bangles and my bindi, which is makeup that's worn on the forehead in India. Everything matching. But then I went to the Himalayas and I met the people who lived there. They were very poor and had next to nothing, and yet they were happy. They were very happy with very little, and whatever little they had, they were willing to share. This experience made a tremendous impact on my mother. So when she came back from the Himalayas, she had a complete change of heart. She realized she didn't need material possessions to be happy. She began living a much simpler life and decided she wanted to dedicate her life to social service. She wanted to be a doctor or a nun or some sort of a social reformer in which she would be serving the poor and the needy. Eventually, she married, had me and my sister, and dedicated herself to raising her children and serving her community. And now, through my work, I feel like I'm carrying on her vision. I spend all of my time working to uplift society, and that is how Bliss Belly Kitchen started. My mother was my very first teacher. She was always giving and loving and serving. Her mantra was, "When you're happy, I'm happy." And she would say this to us constantly. She lived by that motto. That's the biggest lesson she taught me. To be of service is caring for others and putting their needs before yours. Most of all, she showed her love through food. And so now, as an adult, I teach people how to show their love through food. Part two, how to be prepared for loss or the benefits of meditation. Shortly after graduating college, I was living in India and had come back to visit for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, my mom passed away. I was having lunch with her one moment, and a few short hours later, she was gone. It was unexpected, and I had no idea that she was even sick. But the one thing that got me through, that I'm still very grateful to this day for, was that 1 month prior, I had learned to meditate. I had attended a week-long silence meditation retreat in India. I felt able to connect with that place within myself where I could be still, silent, and accept people and situations as they are. This was an amazing gift and a blessing for me because I had the tools to deal with this challenging, life-altering situation. It was at that time that I met my spiritual teacher. His name was Sri Ravi Shankar, and he was a meditation master. He wore flowing white robes and had a long black beard and long hair. I met him in the southern part of India in a town called Bangalore. He had an ashram or a spiritual retreat center. And I remember noticing that when I met the people who lived there, the sadhaks or spiritual seekers, it felt as if they had oceans for eyes. There was so much depth and peace and serenity. I wanted that for myself. I discovered the power of meditation when I learned a breathing practice called sky breathing or Sudarshan Kriya. Previously, I had never experienced anything like it. I had tried to meditate, but it seemed impossible. All that would happen was that I would sit there and get bored. Sorry, some of the chats are distracting me. All that would happen was that I would sit there and get bored or have lots of thoughts and feel like I was failing at doing nothing. When I learned sky breathing, something got unlocked within me. It felt like a doorway had opened up inside of me, and I was able to reach this place of stillness and calmness that had always been there within me, waiting for me. So, when I was faced with this major loss, I was prepared. Life is full of ups and downs, but it's what you do about them that matters. We experience so many losses in so many forms every single day. Learning to meditate and breathe is like having an umbrella so you can stay warm and dry in the rain. You're not sure when the rain will come, but you're prepared for it. That is why we teach breathing, yoga, and meditation in all of our cooking classes and summer camps. Breathing is an essential tool to handle the challenges one faces while walking the road of life. And part three of the story, the introduction, this is the third story, how to become a magician in the kitchen. My earliest memories of the kitchen are of me standing by my mother's side as she whisked away and created magic at her stove. A pour of oil, a crackle of mustard, cumin, coriander seeds, add some turmeric, green beans, and voila. And the rolling, ever rolling. My mother hands, see, they never stopped working. Rolling chapati, puri, thalipit, all traditional flatbreads from India. Always fresh, hot, just made chapati for us on the dinner table. We would sit together and eat. I look back at those times and can still remember my mother's food and the love with which it was prepared. To me, the kitchen was a safe place where I could be creative. I watched my mother day in and day out, never a recipe in sight, cooking with simplicity and only the kind of skill earned by years of practice. My mother grew up in India in a household that constantly had guests, mind you, surprise guests, appear at the dinner table. She was her mother's favorite helper, and she relished being in the kitchen, always ready to roll an extra 10 chapatis or flatbreads, or prepare an extra bhaji, a spiced vegetable dish, for the unexpected guest. My mother treated her own home in the same way. Anytime a guest came over, she would prepare a meal for them. Dosa, idli, and sambar, traditional South Indian specialties, were amongst her favorites to present. Oh, I remember her idli and sambar. Her idlis, steamed rice dumplings, were fluffy like clouds. I could drink an entire bowl of sambar, lentil soup traditionally served from idlis with idlis. It was so good. Other dishes were cauliflower bhaji, green beans bhaji, chapati, masoor dal, shenga chutney. My goodness, I'm making myself hungry just thinking about this. The kitchen was a place filled with warmth and food and love. My mother showed her love by feeding. I remember she'd always ask us, "What do you want me to cook for you?" said in a melodious voice filled with tenderness and an eagerness to please. Just thinking about this mantra of hers brings a smile to my face. Food, togetherness, and love around the dining table was something I grew up with. They were all wrapped up in one big ball of chapati dough. Side note, there is honestly nothing better than a freshly made hot off the grill chapati, made even better with a dollop of ghee. Ask any Indian person and they will agree. The desire to share this experience with the children of the world, the experience of safety, warmth, and good food has resulted in Bliss Belly Kitchen's Yoga of Cooking summer camps and classes in Berkeley, California. I find that not everyone was blessed with a mother who had an intuitive relationship with food and spice and taste and texture. But because I did, and because that gift has now been passed on to me, I would like to share it with as many children as I possibly can. For that experience was a defining moment of a lifetime, one that shapes how I cook and eat and live today. So I'll pause there. And now I can see everyone who's here. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so glad that you came. That's the introduction. Anyone want to ask a question or share anything? Can you guys hear me okay?
That was beautiful, Neelam. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know who said that, but thank you.
Misia.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, wow. Okay, good. Whoa. Yeah, you guys are really, yeah, you're like the first audience that's hearing this. So this is helpful for me. Okay, so now I'm going to share some of the recipes. So this is our very first Bliss Belly Kitchen camp. And so, this is a cookbook reading. So you're going to hear about some food and how to make it. So let me find okay, so the meal, you're going to learn about a whole meal today. It's our healthy Mexican fiesta. And here it is. As you can see, it's 6 courses. And we make this with kids and it's successful and they love it. So let's start with the black beans. So I'll read some of the notes and then just a little bit of the instructions. Black beans are easy to make from scratch and they are a great source of healthy vegan protein. The trick is to soak them overnight, then they will cook quickly. Adding lots of spices makes them tasty too. So the ingredients that we use are 1 chopped tomato, 1 cup of dried black beans, 1 tablespoon olive oil, paprika, bay leaf, oregano, and Himalayan salt. And there's specific quantities for each one, but I won't go through those. So overall, you're going to measure your beans into a mixing bowl and cover them with 3 inches of water, letting them soak overnight. And the next day you'll strain the beans using a colander and rinse them 2 more times. And then take a 3-quart soup pot and boil your beans for about an hour, adding the spices. And you'll know when your beans are soft, you'll know when your beans are ready when they're soft all the way through, and you can smash them. So how to test them, you can use your mixing spoon and scoop out some beans from the pot, blow on them until they're cool to the touch, then take one bean and smash it between your fingers, or you can smash it on the cutting board, and keep repeating until the test is done. And here is a Yogi Chef pro tip. Why use dry beans instead of canned? When food is cooked and canned, it sits on a shelf for a few months or longer. If it sits for that longer, it loses some of its prana or chi, which means vital life force energy. So when we start with dry beans, you can serve them freshly cooked and to your family, and you'll uplift everyone's energy that you're serving. This is the job of a yogi chef. They aim to uplift the body, mind, and spirit of themselves and of those whom they feed. So that's the black beans. And then the next thing is the cilantro rice. So cilantro rice have you ever cooked rice before? There is a trick. You have to rinse it 3 times and then cook it. What does rinsing mean? Cover your rice in 2 inches of water, swirl it around, and then slowly pour out the whitish water. That will help it cook easily, plump up nicely, and avoid sticking to the bottom of the pan. And then I go through how to make this cilantro rice. And the next course is kale fajitas. Of course, and so here's my little note about it. Of course, you know Chef Neelam. My campers say she likes to put kale in everything. I love this creative use of kale. Substitute spinach if you can't find it. If you can't find kale, experiment by mixing and matching your veggies. For example, you could use asparagus, green beans, or cauliflower in place of any of the vegetables in this recipe. They're all delicious. So the ingredients for this, what goes into our kale fajitas, is 1 head of kale, 2 to 3 cobs of non-GMO corn if you can get it. And if you can't, you can substitute anything else like cauliflower or green beans or asparagus. 1 chopped zucchini, 1 potato, 3 carrots, and then some spices. And we basically cook everything until it's soft and serve it. And then here is our purple cabbage slaw. So here's my note to the kids is add some serious bling to your table. This dish glows and glints like a purple jewel. Pro tip, we will use a technique called wilting to make the dense leaves soft and thin like lettuce. Here's a fun fact. Lemon juice and olive oil, plus your muscle power, break down the cellular walls of the thick leaves of this vegetable. So what will you do with that is 1 head of purple cabbage, 1 carrot, the juice of some lemons, juice of 1 lemon, 1/4 cup of olive oil, Himalayan salt, and oregano. So you're going to chop the cabbage up into thin shreds, grate the carrots, juice the lemons, and then you're going to massage the cabbage with the olive oil, lemon juice, and salt until the leaves are as soft as lettuce. Then you can add your oregano, carrot, and Himalayan salt. And then this is my very favorite. It is stone fruit salsa. And in this one, we actually even added figs, and it's just like this really sweet salsa that there's no sugar in because it's just the sweetness of the summer fruit. So here's the little note that I wrote. Stone fruits are fruits that have a hard pit in the middle. They're in season in the summer, which is when we usually make this salsa in camp. The sweetness in the fruits is offset well by the lime juice and cilantro. There's something special about this salsa. It's so colorful, it glints in the sun. And so for this, you would take 4 stone fruits, and then the juice of 1 lime and 1/4 bunch of cilantro and a pinch of salt, and you would just chop everything up and mix it. And then finally, last but not least, is guacamole from scratch. And all I say about this is you should probably double this recipe if you have a big family or they really like guacamole. And the ingredients are 2 avocados, 1 lime, 1 tomato, which is optional, 1 tablespoon chopped cilantro, and a half teaspoon salt. And you basically cut the avocado in half, scoop it out, smash it, mix it up with the lime and salt, and then stir in the tomatoes. So here is some artfully arranged healthy Mexican fiesta food and some of the vegetable arrangements that my students created. And here is the photo of us after we made this meal. And it's also, we love to serve it with chips and Kerrygold Irish Dubliner cheddar cheese. And that cheese is like the cheese that we always use in my summer camp because it's like the best tasting cheddar cheese. And it's also available at Costco for a really good price. So here is a camp that I think was in 2017, maybe 2018. And there's our group that made that. So I'll just pause for a moment. And any questions so far? Anything? Would you guys, is this okay? Or would you like to see the recipe as I talk about it?
It is unmuted. So, hey, Thai, we would like to see the recipe as you talk.
Okay.
And also, what was the type of let me get the camera. What was the type of cheese that you said was available at Costco?
Kerrygold Irish Dubliner.
Okay, yeah, I'll write that
We
down.
need to write that one down.
So yeah, this is my sister and her family are here too. So that, and those are my niece and nephews and brother-in-law. So yeah, you can either see the recipes or the photo. So I can't show both right now. So I'll show the photo and then I'll so for the next recipe I'm going to talk to you guys about is how to make chocolate from scratch. So this needs to go. So this is artisanal chocolate making. So as you can see, this is well, you may not know this, but this is a kid chopping up cacao that has basically been freshly processed and it's raw cacao. So they've taken the beans and they've ground them up and created this thing called cacao paste. It doesn't look like paste. It's just the name that they call it. And so our ingredients, so and basically, so now I can just share the what I'm going to read for you. Where is it? Okay, here it is. So you're going to see all my text. Okay, artisanal chocolate making from scratch. Here's the story of how I taught myself how to make chocolate. In true chef fashion, I started experimenting. I found the best possible ingredients and got to work in my kitchen laboratory creating the ultimate chocolate. It was important that no white sugar be used, but it still needed to taste good. One thing I learned is that when making chocolate, it is important to use a liquid sweetener because if you use granulated sugar, the crystals won't dissolve. After a few failures and mishaps, this recipe emerged the clear winner. Since then, thousands of children have enjoyed this chocolate that's made with only 3 ingredients, is healthy, vegan, and organic, but most important of all, delicious. So the ingredients are 2 cups of organic cacao paste, 1 cup organic raw cacao butter, a half cup coconut syrup, or also known as nectar, coconut nectar, plus any desired toppings. Now the toppings could be nuts, fruits, fruit powders, you could do spices, you could do cayenne pepper, matcha tea, lavender, raspberry powder. There's literally like 50 different flavorings you could add. The one thing is that you don't want to have any alcohol-based or water-based toppings because that will cause the chocolate to seize or ruin the chocolate. So here I say we use Terra Sol cacao paste and cacao butter, available on Amazon. Also, you can find cacao butter and paste at Berkeley Bowl and at some Whole Foods locations. So the preparation, I guess what I'll do is I'll read the preparation and then I'll show you it in photographs. The preparation is you make a double boiler by using a glass or steel bowl on top of a pot filled with 1 inch of water. And then you're going to chop up the cacao butter and paste into the size of your thumbnail. Heat the water at medium-low heat for 5 minutes. Melt the chocolate. Keep the heat on very low. Be very careful not to burn the chocolate or to get water in it. Mix it with a wooden spoon or spatula. Add coconut syrup to the mixture. Once it's all melted and well combined, remove it from heat. So there's 3 different types of chocolate that I'm going to show you. One is chocolate bark, and then the other 2 are chocolate bars and bonbons. So the process for them is the same. It's just the mold that's going to be different. So you're going to line a rimmed baking sheet with parchment paper and then set it aside. And then you're going to pour your chocolate mixture into the parchment. Actually, you shouldn't set it aside. You just pour it into the parchment paper tray. Add your desired toppings and then let it harden for 15 minutes in the fridge. And then you'll take it out and break it apart into small pieces, and you can store it in an airtight container, share it with friends and family. So making chocolate is like so easy. It's surprisingly simple, and this recipe is sure shot. It works pretty much every time. So let me show you the photos. That's the whole point of this book. It's supposed to be a pictorial cookbook where you have little photos of what the steps are. So here is a kid chopping up the cacao paste. Here, chopping up the cacao butter. So as you can see, cacao paste is brown, cacao butter is white. Cacao butter is the fat from the cacao bean, and we use it to make it makes our chocolate really creamy and nice. And not all chocolate bars have it, but this is just what I like to do. So this is my own recipe. So here we're melting the chocolate. You can see there's a spatula in motion. We're melting the chocolate on a double boiler, and it melts very quickly. It's been melted, and now we're putting in the coconut syrup and combining that. And then we have to have, of course, a taste tester. And here we have our chocolate bark. We're decorating it with toasted coconut. And then we have the finished product and a happy kid. And look at how big the chocolate is compared to her head. It's like 3 times the size. So that's, I mean, and this recipe that you're seeing here, it's not even the whole, it's not the whole quantity that's in the recipe. The recipe I give you you get a lot more. And so here is some chocolate bars that we poured into a chocolate bar mold and then decorated. You can see some toasted almonds and cherries. So it became an almond cherry chocolate bar. And here is the happy child who made this. I think there's another photograph underneath it here too. And here's a close-up of the bar. And then here are the bonbons. And this little girl, she's 6 years old, and she made this by herself. We gave her the chocolate, but she poured all of the molds. So that is her with her bonbons. And we had a silicone chocolate bonbon mold. And yeah, so that's how to make chocolate. All right, so that is basically that's it. So that's like what I was gonna share with all of you. Yeah, it's not the end of the cookbook. The cookbook has about 70 recipes in it as of now. but that's sort of just the few little sample chapters that that I'm just sharing for this purpose. So thank you for coming. And anyone want to, what are your, I would love to hear what you think, what
I
your-
want all these recipes for me. I have no children. I don't care. I want to make that chocolate and the black beans and everything. So please get this printed so I can order a copy.
Oh, okay, good.
And I'll see if adults can make the recipes as easily as children can.
Yeah, I mean, I have some friends who are not cooks and they don't know how to cook vegetarian food. And, you know, it could be kind of like an all ages cookbook. It could be like 5+ because the recipes are relevant, especially in our changing world with climate change. It's important for us to start using less resources. And when you eat vegetarian, you're utilizing a few less resources. So at least having one of those meals a week, this could be a great way to integrate that kind of practice.
For sure. I'm actually switching into a plant-based diet, so 2 weeks now. So I'm always looking for new recipes, and everything you've made looks delicious, especially the chocolate.
Yeah, and the cool thing about making your own food, you're also helping the planet because you're saving on all the plastic packaging that that went into that. So if you bought the ingredients yourself and they come in like 5-pound little bags, you could make chocolate for like a year and save on all of those plastic packages.
Nice.
Sajan, I saw that you had a hand up. Are you still with us? Did you go somewhere? And then Linda. Oh, is it Sumant? Okay, one of you.
Yeah, it was me. I was wondering, is there any way that you could like slightly twist the recipe so that it's like dark chocolate or milk chocolate, or like to change if it's the dark or milk or?
Yeah, it's impossible to make milk chocolate like from scratch, the way that you need like a machine, you need a tempering machine, but so it's not the recipe. So we've tried it adding milk, we've tried adding milk powder, we've tried a lot of things. It doesn't work. But what you could do is get like pound plus chocolate from Trader Joe's, which you and I have done that. We've made truffles from that. Do you remember that, someone?
Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah,
That was really good.
yeah, you could make your own candies using the pound plus chocolate bar.
Okay, I was just wondering because like most of our family likes milk chocolate, and like I'm the only guy that likes dark.
Well, I hear what you're saying. A lot of kids, they tell me when they come to my birthday parties that I throw, that they're like, well, I don't like dark chocolate, but then they have the chocolate that we make and they love it. So
Yeah, we'll definitely try the recipe.
it is, I think kids, somehow it works. Linda, yes.
My question is, how many camps do you have during the summer?
Oh, summer camps. Well, we have between 4 and 6 weeks of summer camp.
Is each camp 1 week?
Yeah. So there's different themes, and the themes are cooking, farm to table cooking, and then also chocolate making and baking.
Great. Where is it advertised? I have 8 grandkids.
Oh, wow. We usually list it in 510 families. Because of the pandemic, things have changed so much. So we're like, they're very competitive and to get into, and we have parents who are signing their kids up in January for June camp, but that didn't happen this year. So we're just, preparing that whole thing. So
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. I'd love to hear any feedback from you. Did you think that it was like, I guess the kids or maybe even the teachers in the room or the parents, was it too advanced for like a 10-year-old? I think my aim would be like a 9 or 10-year-old, 9 and above. I think 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, they could probably listen to it. They may not get everything, but they could cook with their kid, with their parents. But an 8, 9, 10-year-old and above could probably like consume it themselves. So I don't know. What did you guys think? I'd love to hear from you.
I know that like maybe some kids wouldn't understand some of the words, but like some of the words like tempering chocolate and some of the stuff like kitchen, like I don't know, like terms. Yes, kitchen terms. Like some like I know I've watched the Great British Baking Show all 8 seasons, so I know most of the terms. But yeah, like do you have like a definition section? Like I forgot what it's called. A glossary. Yes, glossary.
Yeah, we'll have a glossary once a month. That's
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because that was one.
I was,
thing that was
yeah, I guess I was wondering about the introduction, if that was kid like friendly, or was it a little too esoteric?
I like the fact that there were stories in it and stories for every recipe too, like a little bit of a description. So something that kids that want like more background to it. So it felt like something that kids in that age range you're talking about would be able to read and follow along with.
Good. Okay. That was my goal. So because I've been working on this cookbook for about 3 years now, and the stories I had before were like they ended up becoming more for adults, and so I was like really trying hard to make sure that it was more geared towards kids. And then I actually read it to my 5th grade class today, and they're like, "When are you publishing this? This is so good." And then they're like, "I don't think kids will understand it." I'm like, "You're a kid." They're like, "Well, I don't think little kids are gonna understand it." I was like, "That's okay."
When are you planning on publishing it?
Well, that's the goal, is to take what I created today and start sending it out to publishers. If anyone knows a kid's publisher, please let me know. I'm definitely, like looking for that. I have hired somebody and like a copy editor, and we have to write there's a whole process. You have to write a query letter, you have to send it out, you have to send a sample chapter and a query letter out to these publishers, and then there's going to be, everyone please follow me on Instagram, because that's what you need. They'll ask you, "How many Instagram followers do you have?" and I'll be like, "I have 400," and they're like, "You need 10,000." So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what they look for in a cookbook author or anything. So this is so niche, it could have its own audience and its own life. So I guess they're also, sometimes they'll accept a proposal that with not as much of a following, that they know that can be popular. So with kids, cooking classes, they're so popular these days. So this is and there will be like sections of, how to breathe and how to do yoga, different yoga postures. It will be part of the cookbook as well. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for coming. And I hope it sounds like you all enjoyed it, and I'll keep you posted, and I'll stick around if there's any questions or anything like that.
I had one quick question
Yeah.
about the double boiler.
Sure.
I love that you can use like a bowl or whatever on top of a pot. But I was curious, does it have to touch the water that's in the lower pot, or can it just be kind of like above that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's just the steam that it doesn't have to touch.
Oh, okay. I never knew that. Like my mom's made chocolate, but I'm really excited about your book too. So definitely when it's published, I want to buy a copy.
Okay.
Bye.
Hey. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Julie. Bye.
Bye.